Take a second and imagine you've been placed in a time machine and whisked away to live the sumptuous life of an A-list star during Golden Era Hollywood. As you decide how to spend your Saturday night in Tinseltown with your luxury-loving co-stars, you receive an invite to meet up with a few actors and actresses at Hollywood's most luxurious hangout, the Garden of Alla Hotel. And when you arrive, you are instantly captivated by the sprawling Moorish architecture and lush tropical gardens that seem more like a mirage than reality in the Los Angeles heat. Stepping into the lobby, the scene is alive with the glamorous elite. There's legendary leading man Humphrey Bogart sharing a joke with the ever-charismatic Errol Flynn, both leaning casually against the grand piano. Nearby, Marlene Dietrich and Greta Garbo engage in a deep conversation, their legendary faces half hidden in the dim, sultry lighting. The air is thick with the fragrance of cigarette smoke mingled with expensive perfumes as jazz music softly serenades the crowd of glittering stars. Yet behind this luminous display of Hollywood's finest hour, the aura of a heartbreaking fate lingers. This vibrant sanctuary, alive with the spirit of an era that created modern celebrity, was destined to get demolished. The walls that harbored secrets, dreams, and the unrestrained joy of icons would soon be torn down, replaced by the cold anonymity of a commercial complex. In today's episode, we'll explain the history of the legendary Garden of Alla and how its destruction was not just the end of a pricey hotel, but a poignant farewell to a golden age as we describe why Hollywood's swankiest hotel was demolished. In 1927, the Garden of Alla Hotel swung open its doors and strutted onto the Hollywood scene like a starlet ready for her close-up. Originally the estate of silent film siren Alla Nazimova, this Sunset Boulevard haunt quickly morphed into a hotbed of glitz, glamour, and the occasional scandal, embodying the essence of Hollywood's golden age. And the hotel's Spanish-style villas, tucked amidst lush, whispering gardens and an infamous black C-shaped pool, were more than mere lodging. They were a backdrop to the lives of the stars who frequented them. Thus, from its inception, the Garden of Alla was a bastion of exclusivity, offering the crème de la crème of Hollywood's elite a secluded paradise where they could frolic away from the flashbulbs of the press. Now, with its reputation for discretion and opulence, the hotel soon became a pilgrimage site for anyone who was or aspired to be anyone in Tinseltown. And the management knew the assignment: keep the stars happy and the paparazzi guessing. Indeed, this secret source of privacy mixed with luxury ensured that a night at the Garden of Alla wasn't just a stay, it was a statement. Furthermore, the hotel's guest list read like a who's who of 20th century icons. For example, F. Scott Fitzgerald, that sharp chronicler of American excess, camped out here during his Hollywood years, penning the drafts of what would be his final opus, The Last Tycoon. And Errol Flynn, the swashbuckling Aussie with a penchant for mischief, turned the hotel into his personal playground, his antics becoming as legendary as his films. Whether by the bar or by the pool, Flynn's magnetism ensured there was never a dull moment around him. But the hotel's allure wasn't lost on the likes of Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall either. Their storied romance added a dash of sweet to the cocktail of personalities that frequented the garden. The literary set found a haven here too, with Dorothy Parker and Robert Benchley spearheading an Algonquin Round Table West, where wit was the currency and laughter a given. Yet it wasn't just the literary and film elite who were drawn to the garden's enchanted environs. Musical maestros like Igor Stravinsky composed timeless pieces within its walls, while George Gershwin could be found tickling the ivories, serenading an impromptu gathering of Hollywood royalty in the lobby. Therefore, the Garden of Alla wasn't merely a hotel, it was a microcosm of Hollywood's most golden era. Under its roofs and amongst its gardens, the lines between reality and performance blurred as stars from across the art spectrum mingled, creating a melting pot of creativity. As the lights finally dimmed on the Garden of Alla and its original building was demolished, Its legacy was ironically cemented in the annals of Hollywood history. Far from being just another hotel, it had served as a cultural crucible, a nexus for the era's titans, and a birthplace for the tales and scandals destined for the silver screen's lore. For, as Golden Era Hollywood gossip columnist Sheila Graham put it, "There is no place for a Garden of Alla that for one brief moment was Camelot. It was inevitable that Hollywood as we knew it and its satellite, Alla's Garden, should disappear together." How exactly did this legendary locale get its start in early Hollywood, similar to the stars it would play host to for decades? To get our answer, we'll have to roll back to the turn of the century, in the next chapter. The Garden of Alla Hotel, a name that twinkles with the same glamour as the Hollywood Walk of Fame, began its illustrious journey in the early 1910s, not as a hotel, but as a private estate dubbed Havenhurst. Crafted by the enterprising William H. Hay in 1913, this 2.5-acre slice of heaven at 8152 Sunset Boulevard was destined for stardom. By 1918, Alla Nazimova, a silent film star with the dramatic chops and violet eyes to match, had leased the estate, succumbing to its charms. And by the next year, she couldn't resist. She bought it outright. With a visionary's zeal, Nazimova poured a cool $65,000, equal to around $1.1 million today, into revamps, shaping her new domain into a salute to her Crimean roots, with a Black Sea-shaped swimming pool and lush, manicured landscapes. Nazimova, ever the clever hostess, then christened her revamped abode the Garden of Alla, spelled like her first name, without the letter H at the end, winking at her own name and nodding to Robert S. Hitchens' novel The Garden of Alla. And her home quickly became a magnet for Hollywood's elite, known for its heady artistic salons that attracted a colourful tapestry of guests, many from the lesbian community, buzzing with discussions on literature, philosophy, and the arts. However, as the glitter of the 1920s began to dim, so did Nazimova's financial stability. Her cinematic ventures had not paid off, leaving her cradling a wilting purse. It was then that the whispers of a new venture reached her ears. Why not turn this star-studded sanctuary into a hotel? Intrigued and desperate, Nazimova let the idea bloom into a grand plan. With the pomp of a true cinema queen, she transformed her estate in 1926, commissioning the aid of architect Frank L. Moline, whose name was already etched on some of LA's finest buildings. Together, they dreamed up the Garden of Alla Hotel, envisioning a cluster of 25 luxury Spanish Moorish villas nestled among the gardens, each a private retreat with the sumptuous allure of old Hollywood. Moline's master plan was a symphony of aesthetics and function. The famous pool retained its central cameo, around which the new villas were carefully placed to foster a sense of secluded splendor. And each villa was a fortress of privacy, with teak floors, heavy Spanish furniture, and modern amenities that included kitchenettes and bathrooms, perfect for the who's who of Tinseltown craving discreet luxury. The transformation was nothing short of a scene from a high-budget film. Construction crews became unsung heroes, working diligently through 1926, ensuring that Moline's vision, complete with the preservation of grand old trees and the integration of new lavish structures, was realized without a hitch. And the hotel's grand opening on the 9th of January 1927 was an affair to remember, an 18-hour gala that saw the crème de la crème of Hollywood descend upon the Garden of Alla. As night cloaked the city, the estate burst into a kaleidoscope of lights, enchanting every onlooker and promising many starlit nights to come. Then, subsequent tweaks and tunes were made to perfect the guest experience. The on-site restaurant transformed to make room for more guest spaces, and a lively bar by the pool became the new hub for the glitterati. Amidst the advent of talkies, some villas were even soundproofed, accommodating the creative sanctuaries needed by the era's film icons. By 1930, as the garden gracefully evolved under new ownership, it subtly changed its moniker by adding an H to become the Garden of Alla Hotel, a move that delicately shifted its legacy from its founder's personal tribute to a standalone symbol of Hollywood's golden era. Therefore, although the 1920s hotel was a beacon of Hollywood luxury, its best days were yet to come, as LA entered its golden era. If golden era Hollywood's luxurious epoch could be distilled into one beguiling locale, it could arguably be the Garden of Alla Hotel. Throughout the 1930s, this charming oasis not only provided a sumptuous backdrop for Tinseltown's glitterati, but also functioned as the social nucleus of a burgeoning film industry. Located conveniently near the major studios, yet securely tucked away behind lush greenery, the garden offered a sanctuary where luminaries could cavort with abandon under the Southern California sun. In an era shadowed by the Great Depression, the hotel emerged as a glamorous enclave where hedonism was not just a pastime, but a fine art. The verdant grounds and quaint villas of the garden became scenes of storied soirees and furtive romances. Imagine the tableau: Humphrey Bogart with a cigarette dangling from his lips, Errol Flynn's rakish grin lighting up the garden paths, and Greta Garbo's enigmatic presence by the infamous pool, a magnet for spontaneous revelry. And this iconic watering hole wasn't merely a playground for movie stars. It was a crucible of creative alchemy. Here, the wits of New York's Algonquin Round Table, led by the sharp-tongued Dorothy Parker and the ever-droll Robert Benchley, found a West Coast roost. And the literary elite's infusion into the hotel's fabric elevated its prestige, making it a pulsating bridge between East Coast intellectualism and Hollywood's burgeoning glamour. So, what was it about the garden that made it such fertile ground for creativity? Perhaps it was the informal mingling of minds by the poolside, where composers like Igor Stravinsky could exchange notes with screen sirens, or in the bar where a struggling F. Scott Fitzgerald might find inspiration for his next screenplay amidst the clink of glasses. Furthermore, as the world spun into the 1940s, engulfed by the turmoil of World War II, the garden's allure did not wane, unlike many places in America. Instead, it adapted, becoming a beacon for those in the throes of wartime anxiety. Gloria Stewart, of later Titanic fame, epitomized this era, turning her residence into a culinary haven where scarcity was defied with lavish dinner parties that often morphed into fervent brainstorming sessions. These gatherings, rich with the aroma of rationed delights, sowed the seeds of numerous Hollywood classics. Therefore, in Golden Era Hollywood, this A-list haven wasn't just a hotel, it was a microcosm of the industry itself. Yet, in the post-war years, as America changed rapidly from depression to optimism and the baby boom generation began, the Garden of Alla began to be seen as old hat, and trouble was afoot. The Garden of Alla Hotel, a once sparkling jewel in Hollywood's crown, faced its twilight years in the 1950s with the same dramatic flair with which it had lived its golden days. Once the heartbeat of Hollywood's social whirl, the garden began to wilt under the weight of a changing industry and shifting cultural mores. Specifically, the allure of this storied sanctuary diminished as the glitterati who once sought its luxurious anonymity began putting down roots in the lush enclaves of Beverly Hills and beyond, eschewing temporary hotel stays for more permanent digs. Concurrently, the rise of sleek modern hotels with all the latest conveniences lured away those who might once have reveled in the garden's old-world charm, and the once irresistible magnet for celebrities and creative mavericks was finding itself edged out by the next generation of accommodations. Adding to its challenges, the social fabric of Hollywood itself was transforming. The 1950s were marred by the chill of the Red Scare, casting a shadow over the garden's freewheeling ethos. Where once the air was thick with the promise of secrets and scandal, qualities that had burnished its legend, there now hovered a palpable tension, a sense of watchful eyes and whispered accusations. And the once celebrated revelries that defined the garden's character became liabilities maligned by a society increasingly buttoned up and conservative. Efforts to revitalize the Garden of Alla spluttered like a fading starlet's comeback attempt. Renovations and management shake-ups attempted to reclaim the lost mystique, but fell short, and ownership shuffled through hopeful hands, each set trying to capture the elusive magic that had defined the hotel's better days. By 1957, when the property passed to Morris Markowitz and Isidore Rosanus for a mere $500,000, the writing was on the proverbial wall, and Rosanus's untimely demise 5 months later only hastened the inevitable. The final nail in the coffin was hammered in April 1959, when Bart Lytton of Lytton Savings and Loan acquired the garden, not to restore it but to raise it. His vision was a stark departure from the past, a modern bank building to house his financial empire, a symbol of progress indifferent to the nostalgic cries of Hollywood's old guard. As news of the impending demolition spread, a collective lament rose from the Hollywood community. Time magazine captured the sentiment in a poignant piece, reminiscing about the days when the town still managed to be wacky in the grand manner. Thus, in August of 1959, the garden threw open its doors one last time for a grand farewell party, a swan song that drew over 1,000 mourners. They came to pay homage to the spirit of Alla Nazimova, the visionary founder, screening her film Salome as a tribute amidst the garden's fading echoes. But what followed was a macabre auction, where bits and pieces of Hollywood history were parceled out to the highest bidder. From opulent furnishings to kitschy keepsakes, each item was a tangible piece of the grand narrative that the Garden of Alla had authored over the decades. As the wrecking balls tore through the structure, a chapter closed not just on a building but on an epoch. The landscape of Hollywood was irrevocably altered, its once vibrant heart now a casualty of progress and changing tastes. In 1960, the iconic Garden of Alla Hotel gave way to the modern silhouette of the Lytton Savings Building, marking a significant transformation along the Sunset Boulevard skyline. Spearheaded by Bart Lytton, president of Lytton Savings and Loan, this new development was designed by architect Kurt Meyer, whose vision embodied the mid-century modern ethos of clean lines and functional aesthetics. Inside, the space was bathed in natural light, creating an inviting atmosphere for bank customers and a work-friendly environment for its staff. By 1962, the adjacent Lytton Center was completed, introducing a museum and auditorium that expanded the building's role from a financial hub to a cultural nexus within the community. As the decades unfolded, the Lytton Savings Building, along with its Lytton Center of the Visual Arts, became pillars of the local arts scene. The center's museum hosted a kaleidoscope of exhibitions, attracting art lovers and artists alike, showcasing works ranging from modern sculptures to historical paintings. Meanwhile, its auditorium became a favored venue for a variety of community events, from thought-provoking lectures to vibrant performances, echoing the creative spirit once nurtured by its predecessor, the Garden of Alla. Despite its cultural contributions, the fortunes of Lytton Savings were not to last. By 1968, the bank succumbed to bankruptcy, heralding yet another evolution of this iconic site, and the building's next incarnation was less illustrious, a strip mall. As the 21st century dawned, the narrative of the site took another dramatic turn. The early 2010s brought proposals for a new mixed-use development by none other than the celebrated architect Frank Gehry. This project, while promising revitalization and urban renewal, sparked a contentious debate among preservationists and developers. The former saw the Lytton Savings Building as an irreplaceable artifact of architectural history, while the latter argued for the necessity of modernization and increased housing density in the burgeoning city. Simultaneously recognized for its architectural significance, the site itself was designated as a Los Angeles Historic Cultural Monument in 2016, a nod to its storied past and enduring presence on Sunset Boulevard. But, in a twist befitting the cinematic history it harbors, the site, formerly known as the Garden of Alla Hotel and later the Lytton Savings Building, has encountered yet another plot twist in its ongoing narrative. In April 2021, the demolition of the Lytton Savings Building cleared the stage for a new act, the proposed Geary development. However, contrary to previous expectations that this project would swiftly rise from the rubble, the grand designs have been stalled and the land has taken an unexpected turn back onto the real estate market. As of today, the lot at 8150 Sunset Boulevard, once the home of the legendary Garden of Alla, stands vacant, its future uncertain. And despite the current state of limbo, the spirit of the site's storied past continues to resonate with those who cherish Hollywood's golden era. Efforts to honor the legacy of the Garden of Alla are ongoing, with proposals to integrate elements of its glamorous history into any future development. And now, we'd like to see you in the comments. What do you believe should be done with the location of the former Garden of Alla Hotel? We love hearing your personal experiences and opinions on legendary architecture, so don't be shy and give us your thoughts below. Thanks again for joining us on another episode of Old Money Mansions, and cheers until next time.